Imagine standing in a vast desert where the wind whispers across ancient stones. You pick up a rock, expecting it to be ordinary, yet carved into its surface is something that looks uncannily modern. A shape, a pattern, or even a figure that shouldn't exist in that time. Could this be a mere coincidence, or is it evidence that someone, or something, not bound by the limits of time, once walked among our prehistoric ancestors? For centuries, archaeology has been the lens through which we glimpse humanity's long journey, from the first fire built by prehistoric humans to the survival of Neanderthals in the harsh Ice Age, to the rise and fall of lost civilizations buried under sands and oceans. But what if, hidden among these layers of history, are anomalies, artifacts that don't fit, carvings that shouldn't exist, and mysteries that defy the known story of human evolution? Across the world, there are whispers of objects and symbols that appear out of place. A footprint fossilized in stone millions of years old. A carving that depicts futuristic machines, or even entire myths describing gods descending from the sky with knowledge far beyond their age. Some dismiss these as mistakes of interpretation. Others wonder, are they breadcrumbs left behind by travelers from the future, or echoes of civilizations erased from memory? Tonight, we will step into this realm of mystery, where science meets speculation and archaeology brushes against the impossible. Together, we'll explore evidence both fascinating and controversial, ask questions that challenge the very timeline of history, and confront the possibility that time is not as linear as we believe. So, did time travelers leave evidence in prehistoric history? Or are we simply staring at puzzles crafted by the imagination of ancient minds? The answer may change how we see our past and our future. To begin unraveling the mystery of time travelers in prehistory, we first need to ground ourselves in the known timeline of human evolution and archaeology. Prehistoric humans, stretching back millions of years, left behind stone tools, bones, and cave paintings. Neanderthals survived brutal Ice Age winters with ingenuity. Homo sapiens spread across continents, and lost civilizations left behind enigmatic ruins. Archaeology helps us piece this together, yet occasionally, discoveries arise that seem out of place, almost mocking the linear progression of history. The established timeline. Scientists generally agree that anatomically modern humans emerged around 300,000 years ago in Africa. From there, groups migrated, meeting and sometimes interbreeding with Neanderthals and Denisovans. By 40,000 years ago, humans were spreading across Europe, Asia, and beyond, leaving behind cave art at sites like Chauvet in France or Altamira in Spain. These paintings of mammoths, bison, and hunters are windows into the minds of Ice Age people. Civilizations, the kind with cities, writing, and monumental architecture, are much more recent, dating back about 6,000 years. Agriculture allowed humans to settle and build societies like Mesopotamia, Egypt, the Indus Valley, and eventually the Maya and Inca. This is the accepted arc, from scattered tribes to mighty civilizations, all within a framework that can be studied and verified. Yet, within this carefully ordered story, anomalies appear. OOPTs, out-of-place artifacts. Archaeologists have long debated strange finds that don't align with the expected timeline. These objects are often called OOPTs, or out-of-place artifacts. While many have been explained or debunked, some continue to provoke wonder. One famous example is the London hammer, purportedly discovered encased in rock dated to over 100 million years ago. The hammer's handle had partially turned to coal, and the iron head seemed oddly advanced for the period in which it was supposedly buried. Critics argue that the surrounding rock may have formed more recently through natural processes. Yet, to believers, the hammer suggests an impossible scenario,
technology existing long before humans should have wielded it. Another case is the Antikythera Mechanism, discovered in a shipwreck off Greece. This complex gear-driven device, often dubbed the world's first computer, dates to around 100 BCE. While not prehistoric, it demonstrates that sophisticated technology sometimes arises earlier than expected. Could similar devices have once existed in even deeper antiquity, lost to time, or perhaps deliberately left behind? Fossils and footprints. Beyond artifacts, there are claims of human footprints embedded in rock layers millions of years old. In Glen Rose, Texas, for example, locals reported human-like tracks alongside dinosaur footprints. While most paleontologists dismiss these as erosional patterns or misidentified impressions, the imagery is powerful. If taken literally, it would suggest that humans, or something resembling humans, walked the Earth alongside creatures from a completely different era. Even if these footprints are misinterpretations, they fuel a larger question. Why do myths from so many cultures describe encounters with beings not of this time? Ancient myths as possible evidence. Everywhere we look, myths echo with strange parallels. In the Sumerian texts, gods called the Anunnaki descend from the heavens to teach civilization. In Mesoamerican lore, the feathered serpent god Quetzalcoatl arrives to gift knowledge. In Hindu scriptures, deities traverse time and space in flying machines called vimanas. Could these myths be distorted memories of advanced beings, time travelers perhaps, interacting with prehistoric humans? Scientists usually interpret these myths as symbolic, cultural, or religious in nature, but their recurring themes of visitors, advanced knowledge, and sudden leaps in human progress, are difficult to ignore. Lost civilizations in the gaps of archaeology. We must also consider that archaeology itself is incomplete. The Earth swallows evidence. Coastlines sink, jungles cover ruins, deserts bury cities. For decades, scholars believed advanced civilization began only around 6,000 years ago. Yet discoveries like Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, dated to nearly 12,000 years ago, push that boundary further back. Its intricate stone carvings and massive megaliths suggest complex societies far older than previously thought. If we could be so wrong about civilization's origins, what else might we be missing? Could some anomalies hint not at time travelers, but at advanced cultures wiped away by catastrophe, their traces later misread as futuristic? And if such civilizations could rise and fall, perhaps more than once, is it so unthinkable that some relics might appear centuries or millennia out of place? Science and skepticism. Of course, mainstream science urges caution. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. Most OPTs are eventually explained by geological processes, misinterpretations, or even hoaxes. The London hammer, for instance, may not be millions of years old at all, but rather a 19th century tool encased in a concretion. The supposed human footprints beside dinosaur tracks are more likely unusual natural formations. Yet skepticism does not erase the allure. The human mind is wired to seek patterns, to connect dots across vast spans of time. And while archaeologists work with fragments, bones, tools, ruins, our imagination fills in the gaps. What makes this subject so compelling is not simply whether time travelers did exist in prehistory, but that the evidence leaves room for mystery. When we gaze at a cave painting of a figure with a strangely modern shape, or stumble upon a legend that speaks of beings arriving from another age, we are reminded of how little we truly know. In the end, the question remains: are these anomalies proof of visitors from the future, or signs of human creativity and forgotten civilizations? Either answer challenges us, either to accept the limits of our knowledge or to open ourselves to possibilities far stranger than we dare to imagine.
To understand whether time travelers may have left evidence in prehistoric history, we must dive deeper into the stories, artifacts, and scenes that appear to bend the rules of time itself. Let us begin with the anomalies that spark both fascination and controversy. The the physical traces, carvings, and legends that refuse to fit neatly into the puzzle of human evolution. The Cave of Impossible Figures. Imagine walking into the darkness of a prehistoric cave, torchlight flickering across walls painted more than 30,000 years ago. You expect bison, mammoths, hunters with spears, but then, among the familiar animals, you see something different. A figure in what looks like a helmet, or perhaps a suit. Shapes that resemble modern technology. At the cave of Tassili Najer in the Sahara, such paintings exist. The round-headed figures etched into stone are mysterious. Some archaeologists describe them as shamanic visions, depictions of spiritual beings. Yet others cannot ignore how much they resemble modern astronauts, with domed helmets and strange gear. Could these be memories of contact with advanced beings, or are they simply the symbolic language of prehistoric humans? The mystery of ancient maps. Now picture a world map drawn centuries before humans supposedly had the ability to chart coastlines accurately. The Piri Reis map created in 1513 is one such enigma. Based on earlier sources, it shows parts of South America and even Antarctica without ice. If this map truly reflects ancient knowledge, then someone charted the Earth long before modern civilization. Critics argue the map is misinterpreted, but others suggest it might be a remnant of a forgotten civilization, or perhaps data passed on by visitors who had seen the Earth from above. Could prehistoric humans have inherited fragments of knowledge from travelers who walked not only across continents, but across time? Strange fossils, stranger stories. Fossil records are the backbone of evolutionary science. They tell us of Neanderthals surviving brutal Ice Age winters, of saber-toothed cats prowling the tundra, of the slow march of Homo sapiens toward global dominance. Yet occasionally, fossils seem to whisper contradictions. Take the case of the fossilized human handprint reportedly found in limestone millions of years old, or the alleged sandal print embedded in shale that predates humanity by hundreds of millions of years. Mainstream geologists dismiss these as natural formations. But what if once a print was genuine? That would mean someone stood there, someone out of sync with the established timeline. The stories of the ancestors. Artifacts can be debated, but myths endure. Across cultures, stories describe beings who descend from the sky or emerge suddenly, teaching human skills beyond their reach. The ancient Dogon people of Mali tell of visitors from the Sirius star system, imparting astronomical knowledge far too advanced for their time. Hindu epics describe battles with flying machines, vimanas, that roar through the skies with weapons like lightning. In Mesoamerica, Quetzalcoatl appears as a bringer of knowledge and civilization. Could these figures have been humans from the future, slipping back into the flow of prehistory? To a tribe of hunter-gatherers, even a traveler from 1,000 years ahead would appear as a god. Scenes of contact. Let us pause and imagine. You are a Neanderthal standing in the icy winds of Europe 40,000 years ago. You huddle by the fire, your tribe whispering stories of spirits in the night. Suddenly, a figure appears, not another tribe, but something different. They carry tools beyond comprehension, perhaps even a flickering light that cuts through the dark. To you, this is a god. To us, it might be a time traveler, leaving only shadows of their presence in the stories passed down through generations. These encounters, if they happened, would blur the line between myth and reality. They would become encoded in the art, legends, and rituals of prehistoric humans, traces we still study today, unsure whether we are seeing imagination or history. Symbols of technology before technology. Carvings from ancient India depict wheels, gears, and discs that some interpret as advanced machines. In South America, golden artifacts known as the Quimbaya airplanes resemble modern jets, complete with wings and tail fins. To skeptics, they are stylized birds or insects. To believers, they are models of technology far beyond the time they were crafted. Once again, the question emerges, were these simply creative designs, or were they inspired by something the ancient artisans had seen, something that should not have existed in their world? The emotional pull of the mystery. The idea of time travelers and prehistory is not just about physical artifacts. It's about the way these puzzles make us feel. They tug at something deep in the human spirit, the desire to believe that our story is larger, stranger, and more wondrous than textbooks allow. Think of it this way. Our ancestors looked at the stars and wove stories of gods and destinies. We look at ancient carvings and wonder about lost civilizations and time travelers. Both are attempts to bridge the same gap, the mystery of existence and the longing to know more. The thin line between science and speculation. Of course, we must acknowledge the danger of interpretation. Archaeology is full of errors corrected over time. What looks like an ancient machine may simply be a symbolic carving. What seems like a fossilized shoe print may be a quirk of erosion. Skepticism is necessary, but so too is curiosity. If we silence the questions, we may miss the chance to uncover truths that stretch beyond the ordinary. And so we walk a narrow path, guided by science, but also pulled by imagination, where time travelers and prehistoric humans might have crossed paths, leaving behind puzzles for us to solve.
If the first clues tease us with images and anomalies, the second half of our exploration takes us into the arena of debate. For every mysterious artifact or myth, there are skeptics ready with explanations. And for every explanation, there remain cracks that fuel the imagination. This is where archaeology, human evolution, and the possibility of time travel collide in controversy. The scholars and the skeptics. Mainstream archaeologists argue that most so-called out-of-place artifacts are simply misinterpreted. The London hammer, a 19th century tool encased in a concretion, not proof of prehistoric technology. The Glen Rose human footprints beside dinosaurs, odd erosion patterns, not Homo sapiens. The Quimbaya airplanes, artistic expressions of insects and birds. Science is built on skepticism, and rightly so. If every anomaly were accepted at face value, history would be chaos. Yet skeptics sometimes overreach too, dismissing mysteries before they are fully examined. The Antikythera Mechanism, for example, was once thought to be a simple navigational tool, until deeper study revealed it to be an astonishingly complex astronomical computer. If scholars had stopped asking questions, that breakthrough would have been lost. The problem of missing evidence. Archaeology is inherently incomplete. Our planet recycles itself. Tectonic plates swallow entire continents. Floods erase cities. Jungles bury ruins. Deserts grind structures to dust. What we know is only a fragment of what once existed. Consider Göbekli Tepe in Turkey. For decades, the prevailing view was that monumental architecture only began with farming societies. Then came this site, massive stone pillars, arranged in circles, carved with intricate animal reliefs, dating back 12,000 years, long before civilization was supposed to exist. Suddenly, history shifted. If Göbekli Tepe could remain hidden for so long, what else might lie beneath our feet? Could some evidence of time travelers, if it ever existed, have been buried, recycled, or erased by the Earth itself? The myths as history, or history as myth? Scholars argue that myths are symbolic, not literal. The Anunnaki are allegories of natural forces. The Dogon's serious knowledge may have been contaminated with modern contact. Hindu Vimanas are poetic metaphors for divine power. And yet, these myths are strangely consistent. They often describe advanced knowledge suddenly given to humans. They depict beings who appear and vanish, sometimes with the promise to return. They are not just vague stories. They contain details, sometimes about the stars, sometimes about technologies that seem eerily precise. Could myth be memory? Distorted, yes, but rooted in encounters with something real? If time travelers once brushed against our ancestors, wouldn't their stories live on in oral traditions, carved into stone, retold as legend until the original meaning blurred? Academic resistance and the human factor. Another challenge lies in human pride. Science, like any human endeavor, resists change. The accepted timeline of human evolution is a hard-won structure, and anomalies threaten to shake it. To admit even the possibility of time travelers would be to unravel centuries of work. This doesn't mean scientists are dishonest. It means they are human, and humans cling to frameworks that make sense. Yet history teaches us that paradigms shift. The idea of continents drifting was once ridiculed. Now it's foundational geology. The suggestion that Neanderthals and Homo sapiens interbred was once controversial. Today, it's genetic fact. Could the same happen with the anomalies of prehistory? Might a future generation see what we now dismiss as evidence of something extraordinary? The physics of time travel. From a scientific perspective, is time travel even possible? Einstein's theories suggest it might be. Relativity shows us that time is not absolute, but stretches and bends with speed and gravity. Wormholes, closed time-like curves, and quantum mechanics all provide hints that time may not be as linear as it seems. If time travel is theoretically possible, then the question becomes, would travelers leave evidence? And if they did, would we even recognize it? A futuristic device might corrode to dust. An advanced being might be remembered only as a myth. Perhaps the anomalies we see are not mistakes at all, but fragments of encounters with those who stepped outside the ordinary flow of history. Unanswered questions. Here, then, we arrive at the core mysteries, questions that archaeology and science have yet to resolve. Why do so many prehistoric myths describe sudden leaps in knowledge, as if humanity was taught, rather than slowly evolving? Why do some cave paintings and carvings look strangely modern, beyond the expected imagination of prehistoric humans? Why do certain artifacts, whether or not debunked, continue to stir doubt in the official narrative? And most of all, if time travel is possible, could traces of travelers still lie hidden in our world, waiting to be uncovered? The tension between certainty and wonder. The debate ultimately reflects two sides of the human spirit. On one hand, we crave certainty, order, and evidence. On the other, we hunger for wonder, for mysteries that remind us our world is stranger than we think. Time traveler theories sit on the edge of credibility, not fully dismissed, but not fully proven. They live in the space between science and myth, skepticism and faith, archaeology and imagination. That space, uncomfortable as it is, may be where some of the most profound discoveries await. Closing this chapter of debate. In the end, whether or not time travelers walked among Neanderthals in the Ice Age or whispered knowledge to lost civilizations, the very act of asking the question expands our vision of history. For if time is not linear, then perhaps our past is not fixed. Perhaps history is a tapestry woven, not only of what was, but of what could have been and what might yet return.
By now, we've wandered through caves of strange figures, examined artifacts that shouldn't exist, and weighed myths that echo with uncanny precision. But the true power of this exploration is not only in debating whether time travelers walked among prehistoric humans. It's in what the question itself teaches us about who we are and who we might become. Lesson 1. The fragility of human knowledge. Prehistoric humans endured the chaos of the Ice Age, hunted mammoths, and survived by ingenuity. Yet most of their lives are lost to us, erased by time. If an entire culture could vanish under ice or sand, what about us? What if, thousands of years from now, only fragments of smartphones, satellites, or skyscrapers remain, misinterpreted by future archaeologists as strange, out-of-place relics? The anomalies we debate today, like the London Hammer or the Quimbaya artifacts, may simply be glimpses of forgotten cultures. But they also remind us of how fragile knowledge is. Civilizations can rise, shine brilliantly, and then be reduced to mystery. We too may one day be a puzzle. Lesson 2. Curiosity is the engine of evolution. From the first spark of fire to the first stone tool, curiosity has driven human evolution. Prehistoric humans stared at the night sky and painted stars onto cave walls. Neanderthals buried their dead with flowers, showing not just survival but reflection. Myths of gods descending from the sky were attempts to answer the unknown. When we ask, did time travelers leave evidence in prehistoric history, we are not only chasing an answer, we are exercising the same instinct that kept our ancestors alive. To wonder is to evolve. To question is to grow. Lesson 3. Time as a mirror of the present. Time travel, whether real or metaphorical, is a mirror. It forces us to ask, what would it mean if someone from the future stepped into our world? Would they see us as primitive or as remarkable survivors? Perhaps time travelers in prehistory are not literal but symbolic. They represent moments when humanity seemed to leap forward, when language emerged, when art flourished, when agriculture began. Each leap is like a visitor from the future, a spark arriving early, reshaping everything that follows. If we see ourselves this way, then we are all time travelers. Every invention, every discovery, every story we leave behind is a message to the future, shaping worlds we may never see. Lesson 4. Survival and legacy. During the Ice Age, survival meant adaptation, finding food, making shelter, enduring unimaginable cold. Today, survival has a new meaning, adapting to technology, climate change, and global challenges. If prehistoric anomalies remind us of anything, it is this: survival is not just about living, but about leaving a legacy. Our ancestors left carvings, bones, myths. We leave satellites orbiting Earth, digital archives, cities stretching skyward. If time travelers visited us now, perhaps their lesson would be the same. What you do today echoes far into tomorrow. Lesson 5. Embracing mystery as strength. Modern society often craves certainty, but our ancestors thrived in mystery. To them, the unknown was not only fearsome, but sacred. They painted it, sung it, told stories about it. They turned mystery into meaning. The question of time travelers does the same for us. It may never be answered fully, but it opens our minds. It reminds us that history is not closed, that prehistory still speaks, that archaeology is not only about what we find, but about how we interpret what we see. And perhaps the most powerful lesson is this: mystery is not weakness, it is strength. It keeps us humble, curious, and alive. A reflective thought experiment. Close your eyes and imagine. A prehistoric human crouched in a cave, staring at the fire, wondering if the stars above are alive. A modern archaeologist brushing dust from a bone, trying to piece together lives erased by millennia. A traveler from the future standing silently between them, unseen but watching both past and present. All three are bound by the same question: what does it mean to exist in time? Perhaps the true travelers are not those with machines, but us, humanity itself, moving forward through epochs, carrying fragments of knowledge, myth, and memory across the vast river of time. From prehistory to future, the legends of gods descending from the sky may be metaphors. The artifacts that puzzle us may be misinterpreted, or maybe not. Either way, they challenge us to think bigger. When prehistoric humans imagined visitors from elsewhere, they were reaching for something beyond themselves. We do the same today when we imagine time travelers. It is the same impulse, echoing across ages, the hunger to connect our small, fragile lives to something vast and eternal. So, whether or not travelers left footprints in ancient stone, they have left something in us, the enduring drive to search, to ask, to dream.
We have walked together through the shadows of caves, across Ice Age tundras, and into the ruins of lost civilizations. We have held strange artifacts in our imagination, objects that seem far too modern for their time, fossils that whisper of impossible presences, and myths that describe beings who came, taught, and vanished. Were these time travelers who stepped into the fragile world of prehistoric humans? Or were they simply products of imagination? Shamans painting visions, tribes weaving myths, nature shaping stones that look eerily familiar to our modern eyes? The truth is this: we do not yet know. Archaeology gives us fragments, but fragments are not the whole. Science explains much, but mysteries remain. And in those mysteries, we find something more valuable than certainty. We find wonder. Whether or not time travelers truly walked among Neanderthals or whispered knowledge to lost civilizations, the very act of asking the question transforms us. It makes us reflect on how little we know about our past, how fragile our timeline is, and how astonishing the journey of human evolution has been. If myths are distorted memories, then our ancestors may have been closer to something extraordinary than we dare believe. If artifacts are simply misunderstood, then our curiosity itself becomes the treasure, proof that the human mind refuses to stop seeking. And if one day evidence emerges that proves time travelers did leave their mark, it will not only rewrite history, it will remind us that history is not a closed book, but a living story still unfolding. Think of the prehistoric world, the glow of firelight in a cave, mammoths moving across the frozen plains, the first stone monuments rising against the sky. It feels distant, but it is not. Those humans were us, our ancestors, our blood, our story. If they encountered something beyond their time, whether gods, teachers, or travelers, it means our story is not only about survival, it is about contact, exchange, and transformation. Even if those visitors were only imagined, the imagination itself is a kind of contact, with possibility, with future, with mystery. So we end where we began, with a question. Do you believe time travelers left evidence in prehistoric history? Or are these anomalies simply the echoes of human creativity and forgotten civilizations? Perhaps the answer lies not in the artifacts, but in how we choose to interpret them. Are we willing to see prehistory as a mirror, one that reflects not only where we came from, but where we might go? As you leave this video, remember, every myth you hear, every artifact you see, every bone unearthed from the ground is not just about the past. It is also about us, our hunger for meaning, our refusal to accept easy answers, our drive to imagine more. Maybe one day, when our descendants dig through the layers of time, they too will find anomalies. A fragment of a satellite, a shard of a digital device, an inexplicable relic of our age. And maybe they will wonder, did travelers from another time leave this behind? If you found this journey into prehistory and mystery thought-provoking, don't let it end here. Share your thoughts in the comments. Do you think the evidence points to time travelers or to something else entirely? And if you want to keep exploring the hidden corners of archaeology, the mysteries of human evolution, the rise and fall of lost civilizations, and the secrets that still lie buried in time, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. Our next journey may uncover something even stranger. Because in the end, the greatest discovery is not only in what we find beneath the earth, but in what these mysteries awaken within us.